Well, I think this is as close as we get to a forum. One of our members out of town. Five of us. So let's go ahead and start our meeting. Are you able to, how will we, I want to be able to understand if there are other people who are logging this stuff and members of the public, for example. Let's see, we have our arborist Drew here and Mark Hoffman.
Yeah, we don't have members of the public, just Mark and Drew.
Okay. So I don't think we need to do any introductions. We're all pretty with each other at this point. So we're going to start. First on our agenda is a short reflection. Could it be that anybody has a short reflection they'd like to share? Because if not, I do. I don't know. These little things. The short reflections I get tend to be of two kinds. One is, gee whiz, gosh, isn't that amazing about trees? And secondly, is let's ask Dick about this, or Doug, or Drew, what's going on here about trees. So I got something like that tonight. There's tremendous wind
all over the ground.
Gosh.
Anywhere there's Douglas fir trees.
Well, that's my first question. I just want to confirm these are Douglas fir residue that I'm looking at here.
Douglas fir male cones.
The little tiny ones.
Yeah.
Okay.
They produce pollen.
We need to pass these around. Is everybody pretty familiar with what they are?
Are they all over my driveway?
Yes.
You get your own sample from your driveway, or your roof, or the street in front of your house. So the little ones are the flowers of the tree?
No, they're conifers, so they don't have flowers. They have cones. They have male cones and female cones. The male cones shed their pollen, which was happening 2 or 3 weeks ago. It was all over your car, everything.
Those originated from these little cones.
And then once they've shot their wad, they just fall off the tree.
The next windstorm.
Yes. Then the female cones start as little bitty dyes, and they catch that pollen, and which is distributed by the wind. And fertilization takes place inside the female cones. And the female cones, I think, take 2 years before they develop.
Wow, 2 years.
Yeah.
Typically,
So that one looks kind of desiccated, dried out, could still be.
probably one of last year's. If you are like our home, some really dense, hard green ones have been falling down. Those are ones that probably were more like last year and would mature this year.
I'm sure you can find some samples of that too around your house, Jeff.
But the one thing about Douglas fir female cones, the big ones, that is distinctive is they have those little cone bracts, they're called, that have 3 points that stick out, associated with each of the little scales.
How similar is that Douglas fir pattern to other conifers?
Well, Douglas fir is the only species in that genus that we find here in the Northwest. There's only a couple other species in that genus. So they have distinctive cones relative to all others. Pine cones, for example, all look more or less similar, and fir cones look similar, spruce cones look similar.
Yeah.
Douglas fir cones are different.
But I mean, in terms of having the smaller male.
All conifers do that. They're all
distributes pollen.
separate male and female cones.
I did not know.
Well, see, sometimes these reflections can be helpful.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know either. I had to go to Google. I finally was curious about why these things are covering my house and my road. I lived with them for years and years, but wanted to check it.
Never questioned it.
I think I did try to.
They're sort of nice. They make the tread underfoot soft for a few days. So they start to break down.
Yeah.
Little layer.
And they must add a lot to the forest stuff. Yeah. Okay, well, enough awe and amazement. Thank you all for that. And these reflections don't need to be a part of our meetings. They're always an option, but it's a nice thing. Right? We should all encourage ourselves to think of those things. They don't have to be terribly profound, as you can tell, in terms of the reflections.
You reminded me of something. Can I share a brief reflection as well?
Okay.
Can I share a brief reflection?
Oh, yes,
before we
please.
move on? So 2 years ago, a year ago, we had a large oak taken out of our property care and had to go through the whole process of getting permitted, figuring out what we were gonna replace it with, all of that. This week, we own a property up in Skykomish, and we got 5 trees taken down. And while it was beautiful to not have to get a permit and to not have to go through the rigmarole with the city, I realized this week that we want to replace them, and we don't have things like recommended trees for this area, and realizing like how nice it was, although it was a burden in some ways to go through the city, go through the approval process, having someone with the city that you can talk to about like what is right for this property and what is right for this area and what we could get fit for replacing the canopy and the tree cover was really nice to have. So just a reflection as we talk about updating the tree list. That I know it's not always popular with the city folks, with the citizens, but it is helpful.
Now you're in a position to make that as easy as possible.
Now we get to streamline some things, hopefully.
So I mentioned, I think, since I don't see anybody who has not been here before, we'll discuss with any introductions. Right into the adoption of the agenda. Folks have a chance to look at this. Any discussion of this agenda?
Move it be adopted.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second, all in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, very good. Next, would be the minutes from last month's meeting, which Elizabeth has prepared for us. Get a chance to look at that. Any discussion on those, on the minutes from last meeting? I had one thought, well, I had one thought. Under, on page 2, line 7, where it says that it was that our ivy removal was well attended. I was pleased that we had 8 or 9 members of the public who weren't tree board members, but I think it's a stretch to say that it was well attended. I think we should kind of feel that was something. I would like to suggest that we strike that clause and was well attended event from the minutes.
Agreed.
Objections to that? Okay, thank you. Is there any motion to approve these minutes as amended? And a second. I second. Sorry about that. Moving second, all in favor, say aye, please.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. This is an opportunity for public comments in our agenda. I guess I would call to John, member of the public.
I do have.
You do?
Actually, first, let me thank you on the reflection, because I was wondering how I would get my naturalist observation today. I just said, "Sorry, I'm walking over." Just posted it, so there you go. Thank you, Mark. Regarding the IDL, so we did have attendance, and if you recall, one of the people, Dan Lowenstein, was quite interested. And I said, hey, let me know if we can help you. And I contacted him. And I put him in connection with Pittsburgh's Boy Scout troop. They're raising money to go to Philmont, that's the Scout Ranch in New Mexico. And on the 19th of June, we're going to have 5 scouts. And then I'm going to come out and sort of help them make sure that we pull invasives, because we'll do some hauling. That would not have happened without the ID, without them. So it did make a connection, and that's a good thing. So thank you.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And he has ID sold on his property.
Yeah, well, he'll have to pay for the scouts, but
Yeah.
he doesn't have to pay for me. I'm
Yeah.
free, but not easy. So, anyway, thank you.
Thank you for that. Yeah, are there any other folks who might like to make public comment? So Elizabeth, I don't see anybody else on the screen.
So we've had a change where they can only make comments in person, not through the Zoom.
Oh,
We have
okay.
it Zoom confused.
I saw that for the council last us doing.
I can speak to that when we get to my section.
Okay, very good. We'll move on. Thank you. And that's next, reports and announcements. Councilmember Goldman, maybe you have some.
Sure, two things. So the first up, the public comment change, as some of you may be aware, at our council meetings for the past, say, 6 or so months, we've had some ne'er-do-wells from out of state who would come on in large crowds in Zoom and say horrible, hateful things. The council tried to moderate things by putting a germane requirement that public comment had to be germane to city council business. That proved to not be sufficient, so the administration made a decision to basically say no more Zoom comments. So that you have to be in City Hall to comment. One legally required exception, if someone has a disability requirement and they notify the city in advance, then there can be arrangements made. But otherwise, there's no more like raise your hand if you'd like to comment. The council might revisit that down the line if things calm down. I think that, there's pros and cons, but that's the reason for the change. And since it was adopted, then the problem was happening at the city council level, but it's basically the change was made administratively to cover city council, all of the commissions, boards, such as the tree board. Second thing, and
Can I ask a question about the program, but I'm just curious, I'm sure that Lake Forest Park is not unique having that problem. You don't know.
We are
cities
not.
doing anything similar.
In our region, we seem to have really drawn their attention just in terms of the frequency of incidents. Our neighboring Snohomish County, I don't think anyone's gotten hit as frequently as we have. But a number of cities have, and it's been the general trend coming out of the pandemic to dial back on Zoom, except because for some cities has accelerated the process. Any other questions?
You mentioned they're all out of state.
I believe so. Council members got postcards at their home addresses and they were postmarked in Oakland, California. So I suspect that's where the group's headquartered.
I'm surprised they just didn't outlaw comments from outside of Washington.
So that would run afoul of First Amendment issues that the council can't pick and choose who to hear comments from. So it either has to be an all or nothing. The only, we can say we can't do it based on who you are, or we can say it has to be germane. So if you want to talk about land use and trees, that's fine. If you want to talk about airport traffic, flight paths, that's not germane to LFP. So that's basically the only restriction we can have unless we shut it down entirely.
Thank you.
Second thing, a member of the public emailed the council the other day. They're planning to attend the June 13th council meeting next Thursday, and talking about the storms that we had and power outages. I think roughly half the city was without power on Monday. And I was fair because I'm the southern, less tree-filled half. And I think that the tone of their comments is going to be, how does the city balance trees with infrastructure? And so I thought that might be of interest to the tree board, just as a possible topic down the line. Because I know you talked about forest fires and how higher tree canopy can lead to a higher summer forest fire risk. It also means more susceptibility to windstorm power outages. And so striking that balance there. So I just wanted to make you aware that a member of the public had reached out to the council.
Yes. Any thoughts on that?
I'll take trees over the risk of power outages any day, but I'm not sure everybody would share my.
Well, there are other benefits that trees provide that I think you could weigh against a certain number of hours without power.
There was a fairly more aggressive approach taken 5, 6, 7 years ago to trimming around utility lines.
And I think that might be what the member of the public is getting at, which is, not necessarily taking trees out wholesale, but more of an aggressive, trim that branches that are in the vicinity of power lines. Because if the tree leans 10 degrees, all of a sudden the clearance, it hits the power line. So I think that might be what they're getting at, how to balance, health of the tree versus maintenance. And I'm sure our forest planner and community development director have thoughts on striking that balance. But yeah, it's something that the public
Well, my point in terms of saying that was that I did think that I feel like that pre that activity and post that activity is very different in my experience. In terms of outcomes. Just in my neighborhood, they're very infrequent now, but they're very short.
Do you know when they had that initiative? When they started that?
I think it was 6 or 7 years ago. It was, maybe even more, maybe longer. But they were pretty frequent.
Serious,
Serious.
okay, that was the first 10 years of this century.
Yeah.
6 or 7 would make sense. I moved in 9 years ago, and I feel like our first couple winters, we had to go out regularly. In the last few, we very rarely had it.
Yeah.
Go out for us.
So I'm sure it varies depending on where you are in the city.
Is that something dictated by the city or the utility provider? Because I don't think utility lines come around and trim
Yeah.
lines around your power lines.
Yes, they do. They do periodically, and they have to get a permit from Drew in order to do that work. So I'm sure that she's involved in their plans to do that kind of trimming or removal when they have.
Is the city in a position to make that decision to do it more frequently?
We can't hear you, Drew.
Mark, shaking his head.
We can see you talking, but we cannot hear you talking.
And you're not muted.
Yeah, it's not showing as muted.
What about Mark? Can we hear him if he's unmuted?
No, so this may be an audio problem on our side.
Yes, their computer setting to, maybe the computer itself in the room is muted.
Maybe test the speaker.
Anyway. Okay, so yeah, our speakers are working. There's not hearing anyone through Zoom then. Drew or Mark, do you want to try talking again? See if we
Mark was
nothing.
You can just keep monologuing to us until we can hear you.
Stacy, come up.
Yeah, can you write on little cards for us?
This last,
Yeah.
Wednesday or Monday, was it? I was on that about 3 days, didn't go back on until after we got it.
Do you want to try, maybe change the speakers, so you just go through each of those in
I'm
turn?
guessing you have the same outage we did
No.
from 3:30 to about 3 a.m.
You try talking
You're
again?
right on the other side of Ballinger from me,
Nope.
I think, right? You were right up the street, the one that came down there. Is that right?
I don't know where they could try to do specific.
It came down right across from local 104 and behind Ballinger Automotive. Big one came down, took out the lines, there were 5 lines in the middle of that intersection.
So this is good, we found this out now, before we got to the comp plan discussion portion.
Oh, I'm thinking that's gonna go smoothly, that we got it all.
Group that's bad about the Texas. Oh.
So they don't review turning.
By the city, so it's on the right way.
They review removal.
I knew there's something.
It sounds like they do pruning if it's a street, in the, right of way, if it's a city owned street.
That's how I read it.
Right, with this guy named Mark Darrell, who's.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not gracious. Overlord says no, the other one is. Lots of.
feel like you're gonna.
Oftentimes it's a repeat. That's what that'd be.
And
Hello? Hello?
I don't know how to say it. Try to-
Oh. We can't hear you.
Well, can we carry on this meeting under these circumstances? I think we could probably figure out how to do this. We'll see
Yes.
if there's a lot of stuff that we need Mark's input on. We may have to work around that.
I can get my, hey, Mark, I can get my work phone and then I'll just call you through my work phone.
And also my
You can
understanding,
also log into the Zoom and use your work phone, on your work phone and use your work phone for audio for these
Oh,
guys
okay.
on speaker.
Yeah.
It'll be quiet, but we might be able to do that.
Yeah, let me just
And-
look at it real quick.
for what it's worth, my understanding is that for the comp plan, you're basically, you've gone through it. And so it's really just a matter of formally approving your thoughts. So hopefully there's not a huge amount.
Yeah,
there.
let's go ahead and jump into that. It is our next item. Let's get anything more you wanted to say, council member? Oh, really. As a matter of fact, I did have a question for you. It has to do with the status of any new members for this board. Is there anything known there that you can share with us, or Mark might possibly put something in the chat that we will understand if it's brief?
Think we've had 2 applicants and they're somewhere in the mayor is interviewing them. And then the next step is to come for council. Okay, yes, that's what, yeah, Mark put in chat.
So I'm assuming there's nothing that we just needed from us or expedite that process.
No,
It's been done and needs to be done.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if they've had the interviews and it just needs to be put on a council agenda, or if they're just scheduling, if they haven't actually had me sit down with the mayor. Yeah,
Very good. Is there any other announcements or reports of anybody? Well, let's turn to then to our work with the comp plan. I had this great document that Mr. Hoffman originated and that we've been adding to. I'm just our comments are really fairly brief on here, fairly few. But I'm wondering is are there particular color codes on those edits that, which ones are the most recent? Is that possible to say? Or is it colors? I got red colors, and I got purple colors. Oftentimes the purple are the latest.
It's just doing track changes. It may be, based on who did it, not when they did it.
So anyway, Mark's comment is probably not anything to expect, doesn't it? Okay, so,
and also, I was pointing out earlier,
Oh, I can put you on speaker so you can talk to us through here.
okay. Well, I think we got that figured out.
getting some echoes and feedback.
Oh,
You're probably gonna get something.
yeah.
But if we can't get this working, Mark said that since this is being recorded, if you have any comments, we'll be able to watch the video. I mean, he's hearing us live, so basically, if anything needs to be addressed, we can take care of that.
By standing up and waving.
But at the risk of putting words into your mouth, it seemed like you were pretty close to a consensus last month. And so it might
Yes.
just be
Yeah.
double checking that any thoughts you have been implemented, and if so, are you happy if this is a final product?
Exactly. That's right. So I don't think we want to go through these point by point or section by section, but if you see anything here that you were working on or if you recall and it's not adequately stated or needs some more work anywhere in this document,
In the very helpful, action items email that Elizabeth sent around after the last meeting. She had something down for me under comp plan was creating a minimum for trees and parking lots to reduce heat island effect. I remember we talked about that, but I don't recall that we were actually going to add something about that, or were we?
It looks like it's been added in, land use.
bottom of page 2.
Bottom. There's 2 new ones that we added.
That very bottom one, is that capture what the, I remember us speaking about that.
This is, yeah, for those, it's directly under LE dash 3.6.
Yeah, that sounds good. I actually spent some time on Google Earth looking at parking lots at Lake Forest Park, thinking if we wanted to have some actual recommendations for the city, but I don't think the comp plan goes into that level of detail. But we could talk about number of spaces or having some requirement for tree canopy. Maybe.
Yeah, there did, as I think I mentioned too, there are design guidelines that were council worked out several years ago for redevelopment of the mall. Those certainly touched on trees and other plants in the parking area. Decided to at some point we could take a look at that ourselves.
The only other parking lots that seem to be big and have might fall into some category like that. One is at Brookside Elementary. And the other one is at apartment complex up on that towards
I was gonna guess LFP Elementary, they have a huge pink flat top.
that the Brookside. Is that a different?
Brookside is the one down here, LFP Elementary is the one up on Ballinger.
Oh, yeah, I scanned over that. Didn't see anything that was quite as big there.
It might be small, I don't know Brookside as well.
A lot of playfield, of course, at both schools.
But the one at Brookside, one whole side of it though, is next to a wooded area. So if we wanted to have minimum, canopy coverage, that might qualify because all the spaces on that side.
Yeah, are there any other thoughts? Any other items that anybody would like to clarify, discuss further? Let's see, I had, go ahead, let's see. Well, on page 3, it's what's called EQ 9-9.4. I just thought the wording on that, well, probably two things about that. What's written is maintenance of tree board to monitor the implementation and effectiveness of the community forest management plan. I guess there are two thoughts I have. Community forest management plan is not in our 3-part description of purpose. So it's kind of a new thought added in there, and which I don't think is a problem myself. But it does kind of imply that something else that we're doing besides those 3 that are there. I had a suggested rewrite for that item, Elizabeth, which I can read.
Okay.
And that would just be to maintain a tree board, one of whose functions is to monitor the implementation and effectiveness of the community forest management.
That makes it more
Does
clear.
that sound okay to people?
The way it's written here almost makes it sound like the only reason to exist is.
And I did want to just point out, on the middle of that same page, EQ 6.6, encourage as needed only use of shoreline dock lighting, etc. I raised that last time, and you were all very indulgent with me. It has nothing to do with trees, I realized later as I thought about it, which is really for our input. I had been working with sound recovery for a few years, I guess, the Sound Recovery Council. And it was just on my mind. So thank you for indulging that. I think it fits in there regardless of the source.
Well, encouraging people to reduce nighttime lighting in general is a good thing.
And that's the gist of that section. Or it's mentioned that we should.
So Elizabeth, do you now have Mark on your computer? Are you signed into the same on there?
I think so. Mark, can you hear us? Oh, can you try to say something?
We drag that chat window off to the side where it's not mark space.
Yeah, I mean, we can see that you're talking, but we're still not hearing you, and there is an echo issue.
Yeah, can't hear him on my computer either.
Well, maybe when we have specific questions and we know we want some input from Mark, we'll just use the phone.
Okay.
Dedicated with it. You know, I got two other very simple little comments. Does anybody else have any other comments on the material? Well, the top of page 4, policy EQ 9.5. Encourage the study of the potential effects of climate change, et cetera, et cetera. I thought that could be a little more forcefully stated. So I wanted to replace encourage the study of the potential of with the word understand. So the new version would read understand the potential effects of climate change, et cetera.
You could even remove the word potential.
Sure, yeah. Sure. Is that okay to everybody? We would strike encourage the study of the potential and replace that phrase with understand.
I think potential has the implication of future effects, so maybe it could be something like understand the present and future effects of climate change.
I'm okay with that.
Yep.
There are ones that will arise,
Mhm.
predictable.
Sorry, if I can interrupt, that reminds me, I forgot to mention at the last city council meeting, the climate action committee presented their finalized climate action plan. And so it's very comprehensive. It has dozens, maybe even over 100 different actions for the city, for the public, education opportunities, things like that.
Oh, wow.
So that, when is that going to be made available?
Good question. Is that posted on the city's website?
I'm not sure.
Mark is typing.
Wrong week. For the answer to pop up. June 13th.
Yeah, I got ahead of myself. So last meeting was the climate action committee presenting the report. June 13th will be the city council officially adopting the report. If you were to look through the council packet from the last meeting, you can see the report. But yeah, once the council officially adopts it, then it's ready for prime time.
How can we access that packet?
If you go, I usually just Google like the LFP city council agendas, and then look for the agenda from our May 23rd meeting. There's a PDF version, there's an HTML version, but it has basically everything that, like basically like this that you got, we get a comparable one for our city council meetings.
So longer.
But it has the full text of all the ordinances we're considering that day, if there's any reports.
Right.
Front page of the city website too has a meetings and agendas or agendas and meetings.
Yeah.
Take you right into it.
I can show you how.
Okay, I'll figure it out. I wanted the date actually, but.
Okay.
I had one more thought on that item, right kind of below that last one. It's EQ 9.7. I guess I was wondering why we would want to have a partial list of those plants: English ivy, the laurel, the holly. I mean, I don't understand any sense of that, but there's certainly other ones that I see, I think are more pernicious in our city, like knotweed and like blackberry. So I was thinking to either expand that list to include a few more items, or to take the list out altogether and just refer to the King County noxious weed list. Which you take all of those items.
I don't disagree with that.
I wonder if Drew might have any thoughts on that. In a few words.
I'm just waiting for them to hold up, what's the name of the movie? Where like the guys, it has like just like a stack of those large signs, just rotates through them.
Love Actually style, say it's carolers. Yeah, I was gonna say, Mark mentioned it there. I swear I remember us discussing that and I can't remember why we left it there.
So the Gill County list has a bunch of things on it that most people don't see and not too concerned about. I think this was an attempt to highlight the ones that are of greatest concern here. I don't know if that's necessary.
I feel like a more accessible directive for people who aren't familiar with
Yeah.
what is on the noxious weeds list.
Yeah, because you would read English ivy and for anyone who thinks English ivy is beautiful, they would be surprised.
So Drew points out that the critical area code specifically calls out blackberries, ivy.
Except the blackberry is not included in this one.
Well, if we wanted, I mean, we could expand it to say English ivy, laurel and holly, blackberries and knotweed and other plants listed on the King County noxious weed list.
Yeah.
We could highlight some of those that are special concern to us, but also refer to the larger list. Something like that, okay?
Yes.
Are there any other thoughts on this? Anything else that needs any clarification or further discussion? This is pretty good. Do you feel like we've had input into the conflict?
Yeah.
Good. Yes. Good. But I just wanted to be sure then, maybe before we leave this, what is the current state of this work on the comp plan? I know you mentioned that last meeting, Mark, but there's still opportunity for members of the public and members of tree boards to have input. I know I shouldn't take anything less.
Elizabeth, while we're on this list of names, shouldn't just say moral, it should say moral cherry laurel,
Okay.
Because, true laurel is valuable ornamental that some people grow and is not invasive at all.
And also, I think I can answer part of your question. If you've been following Seattle, there's been a very robust public outreach to their comprehensive plan. And so, smaller scale, but yes, there will be plenty of opportunities for the public that we'll have public hearings when it gets to the city council level. So there will definitely be opportunities for the public to weigh in on comp plan.
So if I understand Mark's comment, our comments will go into what the planning commission is putting together. As what I guess will amount to a draft comprehensive plan update. And then there'll be public processes, hearings on that, and opportunities to add additional thoughts.
I think they're gonna do some open houses.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you all. Good. I think we can put this aside.
Would it be helpful for you to have a formal vote, just so that it's the official voice of the tree board?
Yeah, we could do that. Let's see, so the motion is that we accept these changes that we've worked on over the last few months with the additional edits that were discussed tonight. And that we approve those as the official input from the tree board into the comprehensive planning process.
Second.
All in favor, any discussion, All in favor of that? Aye. Thank you. Thanks. Well, on our agenda, last time we met, one of the items we mentioned was outreach opportunities that we wanted to talk about tonight. So we've had some business outreach opportunities, and then we have work plan check-in, which is on our agenda. I don't know if we talked about that specifically last time, but it seemed appropriate to do so.
It's sort of old business, but with respect to outreach, what's the status of the Ivy out video? Is that going to make it to production?
That's on my list too, so maybe we can talk about that some more. We talked about it briefly before the start of the meeting, but,
Working on it. The challenge right now is that our file is, I think, 2 or 3 gigabytes. And I only have access to free software for editing, which has file limit sizes, that it exceeds. So we're working on seeing if we can break it up or compress it in some way to be able to get it in and then.
I've asked, Elizabeth, does the city have access to more robust video editing software?
Not that I'm aware of, but I would think that we do. I can ask our IT department. Yes, anything that he can maybe assist with. But I'll double check.
yes, that would be good. And does that mean, I guess that's IT, I'm not sure who that person is now, that it's not Joanne.
It's Aaron.
Aaron, yeah.
Okay, well, that'd be good.
Yeah, I'll check.
I think a good question too for me, probably Joanne, if she's still like the webmaster.
I think tomorrow's her last day.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, she's retiring tomorrow.
Well, good, okay.
Yeah.
Well, my thought was that we should probably talk to somebody in the city about the feasibility of going ahead with this plan, once we have a video that,
What are we going to actually do with it?
yeah, are they ready to help us,
Yeah, we do have our, well, I guess her replacement, Jessica from front desk.
Yeah.
Who's gonna, be the new deputy city clerk.
okay.
Yeah.
I know she does a lot of work on written stuff.
Yeah, yeah. So we have someone after Joanne leaves.
Well, it's encouraging to me that you all think that there's something usable came out of that video. I thought it was, we were kind of flying at the point, but we did follow a kind of pattern in the script and make the points we wanted to make, so I think it's worth following up on this to see if we have any better editing capability.
Yeah.
And that would be, we get in touch with, Victoria about that. What are any other thoughts people have been having about outreach? I'll tell you one that I've had. It's actually, I asked Corey a couple of questions. I think that's the reason why you see on your table in front of you upcoming community events. That are scheduled in the city. Giving some thought to which of those we might be able to work with.
Yeah, Corey was letting me know there's a garden tour this next Saturday, so June 15th.
Yep.
She's gonna have 2 tables there if the tree board wants to join. I think she said some members of the climate action committee are gonna be there. So she has space available if anyone from the tree board wants to be there.
Yeah.
Hand out flyers or.
Yeah, and I talked to further with you about that too, so yeah. Are you all familiar with the Secret Garden Tour? Okay, so it will be from 9 to 3.
Yeah.
And the plant sale is in the lower level of the mall, and the city's gonna have a table that we'd be happy to have us, join it. So I think that's a good idea for us to do that. And, what do people think of that idea? Or is there any willingness to stop by and staff it for a while that day? This is on the 15th, Saturday the 15th.
I shared that I loved tabling when I started, and then somehow I was in Toronto for the Green Fair, and I'm going back to Toronto on the 15th. I had never been to Toronto before 3 months ago. So I won't be sure. No, family stuff.
Well, okay, that's,
I might be able to help out if we do something. I have my second cataract surgery on Wednesday, though.
back before that, yeah,
Yeah.
that's going to.
Yeah, I think the first one last year. Right, my time was really bright, and right, I was still kind of dull. But still using my old glasses. Sort of all over the place right now.
Well, I was gonna say, well, I guess we can see how that goes, but I'd be willing to go by, to be there from like 11 to 1. I'm gonna actually be involved putting up signage for that event early in the morning that day and taking down some banners in the afternoon. But I think it's good to go 11 to 1. I think it's a matter of being at the table, right? And we'll get some of those brochures that we have about the tree board to just be available. I don't know, was it in your plan, Drew, to attend that event?
Looks like Drew could potentially do a couple hours in the
Oh, I
morning.
see that.
So if you could do 9 to 11, and then you could do 11 to 1, that's what he's able to do, 1 to 3.
Sounds like a plan. And you know, if we don't get complete coverage of that. Okay. So that's we're at a point where there may not be any other stepping forward. We'll keep in touch with Richard and see how that works out. That should be pretty good.
Somebody can also reach out if Doug is back in town
Oh,
next week and see if he would be interested or available.
I'll be there.
It is the 15th.
The what?
Answering the question on the screen, it's the 15th.
It's a 15. Thank you.
I was asked if I would be a part of that garden tour one year, many years ago.
Yeah.
And at first I said, sure, that'd be great. I found out what it entailed, decided to back out. It's a big deal.
Our neighbor 2 doors up is one of the gardeners, and he's been really working hard. Get his garden in shape. He's got a nice looking lot.
A lot of people come through and, you know, they were talking about having a string quartet set up in my front yard or something like that. No,
There's gonna be music at each of the gardens, at least for part of the time of the day, and I think there's gonna be artists at each of the gardens, at least it has been in the past.
How many are there?
A little different from the Native Plant Society has often come to my garden. They do garden trips.
Yeah, we've been on it twice. In fact, the artist painted
Have
nice
you?
little paintings. Tons of events. Well, I'll be working at the party the night before. So as a volunteer, not as part of it.
It's kind of a great event because it does bring together all these groups from the community, the Stewardship Foundation, and the garden, various garden clubs, and this committee that, that plans this thing every year. There is a party the night before that the Stewardship Foundation usually hosts, and it's always been a nice chance to catch up with some people. The purpose of it is to raise money for art in the community. So like the statues down by City Hall, towards the street over there, column statues. Well, that's not what they're called. I think they're called the waves. Was purchased with that was commissioned by money that was raised in the garden. And I understand that they're at a point now where they have built up enough money that they can get another serious art installation. So anyway, continuing the discussion of outreach possibilities. Any other thoughts people are having about stuff? The other thing that's on here on your agenda that what struck me as being possibly an opportunity is that one on September 7th, picnic in the park. It'd be it's usually at Animal Acres Park, and there's a family event, there'll be music going on the stage, and the games for kids to play, the bouncy house, and those kind of things. And then there's tables set up with various organizations that want to distribute information to the public. It might be another instance where the city, usually Corey has a booth that the city people are at. So it might be another opportunity to work with her and add on to any city table that's there. And again, it's in September, so we have opportunity to figure that out. Let's see it. Like we've talked about it in July and August.
The event that we did a few years ago, by having a table at the farmer's market, I thought was really successful.
Yeah.
And they approached us to see if we wanted to do it. Because at the end of the season, when there aren't so many, not all the booths are paid for and occupied, so they let us have one. And it was nonstop contact with the public.
Yeah.
And, the arborist at the time was there for virtually the whole time. Yeah, got to. We got, Douglas fir seedlings from the state, nursery, like 200 of them for modest price. We gave them out to people to take on the fight.
It's fun.
Now we know what they need. I recall picking those up, because it happened to be that I was driving back.
Oh, that's right.
Portland or something.
Yeah, they were down, there someplace.
Yeah.
Nursery.
Well, I know that the Rotary Club was trying to get a table at one of the farmers markets, and the only one available was the very first one, which we took. So that was 3 weeks ago. So I don't know what availability is or whether it's possible.
Sure that if there's paid vendors, they are to be finding people.
Yeah. Does anyone have a contact there, or
Yes.
would you like to contact them? Would you like someone else to?
Would you look into it?
I'm happy to.
Yeah, I will send you. Yes, the farmers market is run by the Third Place Commons organization, which is process of changing leadership right now. Thank you.
And you also be contacted them for, so I can also Google it.
Yeah, I'll give you a name.
Yeah.
Anything else under outreach people would like to talk about? Drew, how are we gonna do this? Oh. Your Arbor Day reimbursement municipality.
Yeah, we got reimbursed for the one we did a year ago. I didn't think about it this year.
Yeah.
But they, paid for I donated the tree, but they paid for all the other things that we needed, like, compost mix with the soil, and for that fellow, the tree gator that we put around it, which I still have, we'll probably put back on.
I had a couple people that I was chatting with about our event recommend, seeing if any of the schools want to partner with us and do, tree planting or education or something in one of the schools. That may be fun to partner with the Climate Action Committee, see if one of the elementary schools will let us plant a tree in their property, which may be easier to negotiate potentially than with the city.
Yeah, no, that's a great idea.
And then if you partner with a specific class, they can take it on as like it's their job to go water it, and maintain it, and they get some ownership over it. So an idea if we,
Well, it's never too soon to start planning for next year's Arbor Day.
it sneaks up on you.
Yeah.
I think we'll touch on that again in a few minutes when we just take another look at our work plan, because actually this. And we need to.
I have a quick question about outreach events.
Yes.
The only way we can start our outreach by tabling at events, are there other opportunities or not?
Yes. There are.
That's what I wanted
What do
to,
you think?
Or actually.
Well, like one, too, that I was gonna propose that we think about is being intentional about short articles in the city newsletter. People who put that out, I know it's like, when I used to be on the council, they're very eager to find content for those newsletters. And I think they would appreciate, in my mind, it's shaping up something, but one way to go might be just focus on one or two diseases or stress issues that trees are facing in Lake Forest Park. I mean, just like it might be a short 2-paragraph article that says these are two of the conditions that are affecting trees in Lake Forest Park. That disease that seems to be affecting birch trees, for example, the ends of the limbs are dying off. Seems to be a very successful way to treat that. But that one that came to mind, if I could just call it
We had good intentions when we started doing columns for that. Big first part. It was
Yes, yes.
Several years ago, and I wrote a few, and there were a couple others.
Yeah.
Margaret, is that it? Who was the chair of the board for the year? Did one. Sort of figured out.
Maybe it would be helpful if we just have running topic ideas. And then we can just assign someone to do the article and rotate. But it seems like the problem is topics, right?
Yeah, so, one of the things that I had best intentions of doing was periodically writing a short article about some particular species of tree, just a little natural history where
Yeah.
inform people more about the trees that are community. And I did one on the native hazelnut. So I heard it.
I feel like we could do ones about like a short blurb about trees, notable trees in Lake Forest Park and direct people to the tree walk
Yeah.
information. We could do one, I can't remember where all I read about it. Did the report that was just finalized about our canopy get mentioned in the newsletter? I don't think so. I could see specifically from that a blurb about the like economic value of our canopy. And like how did the iTree system is super fun to play with. And I feel like could be an interesting, like, we did this big report, we got this awesome information. If you want to learn more about the trees on your property and their value to the community, check out this resource.
Do we add topic generation as a standing agenda item? And
What are your trees during drought events?
one about watering your trees during drought events might be good.
Oh,
Definitely.
Yeah, one of the ones I did write was following that heat dome. 2021 was that? They wrote a thing about, heat damage, because there was a lot of people were very worried about their trees. There was a lot of immediate damage, which was superficial, right? I mean, it didn't kill trees, but it looked bad.
Yeah.
Water levels this year are gonna be pretty brutal, so that might be a good one to shoot for getting out soon.
Yeah, that could be one way to encourage people to natives, because they are native plants are accustomed to dry summers.
Or that's for our
A lot of the ornamental plants that we plant from places where they expect to have more summer moisture.
Can I throw out two other places for articles? One, the Stewardship Foundation, we do have a newsletter, and it's maybe a lot of overlap. I know there's some differences. The other would be Shoreline Area News, which covers Lake Forest Park as well. A lot of people read that.
Have any of you have submitted to Shoreline Area News? I've done several over the years, and the editor is very, very interested in articles. And she's very good at editing, helping. They're not quite in shape, handling photographs and stuff like that. So I think that's a great idea. I've always thought that was. Well,
We ask maybe Elizabeth to generate a list of topic ideas that we suggested here.
Yeah,
And then we all align on a couple of
Pick a
articles.
couple and-
So who's gonna be handling, with Joanne retiring?
Jessica.
That's somebody's already in.
Yeah, she's the front desk receptionist, so she's gonna be the new deputy soon.
well, that would be good if we want to keep it. That's this that we just mentioned. If we want to keep those in the minutes.
Yeah.
Or in your own list. Well, I think we're going to touch upon it with that same topic in just a minute as we look at work plans. So,
Did you have something?
Yeah, might be helpful to know time frame, like how much lead time. So if it's a time sensitive topic like summer drought watering or maintenance for the first windstorm of fall, when do you want that to be in the newsletter? How much in advance does Jessica need the article? It's like if you're aiming for something to be, and is the newsletter, is it monthly or quarterly?
I think they're switching over to quarterly.
So especially if it's quarterly, then let's say it's for fall maintenance, if you want it to be in the September or August newsletter, like when is the newsletter? Is it September, is it August, is it October? And so when do you need to get the article drafted? I think that'd be helpful.
Yeah, Joanne once told me, when she, particularly monthly, and by what date she needed something, and so on. Had that information. It would be good to get that for the new format.
Yeah.
In person.
It would be great to have that for all three. We're trying to get it in multiple places. How far out, how often do you guys send your newsletter and how far out do you need content to find out, same from the Shoreline Area News and what they're
We're
monthly.
monthly. Shoreline Area News is, I think, daily.
They'll publish tomorrow if you send them something tonight. Yes.
They're pretty.
I suspect it's the city then that will have the furthest lead time.
Yeah.
Can you research that, you think, Liz?
Yeah.
Give us a better idea. Maybe you can send another note about that. Before the next meeting.
And so you guys send out monthly, do you have a regular cadence that beginning of the month, end of the month? I run the newsletter at my office and frequently like the day after it goes out, people will be, can you put this timely update out? I'm like, it's 4 weeks.
It's Kim, who's our president, puts out a request
Okay.
for articles. Like week later, so I'll say typically near the beginning of the month.
Okay.
Like I just got a request for articles
Great.
2 days ago.
So submissions beginning of the month to go out,
Yeah,
kind of second
yeah.
week-ish, more or
And
less.
if it was something that you already had done in the city, it's certainly reuse it.
Excellent.
Anything else on outreach at this point? I think if we're able to do that, cover that the secret art, or that would be.
Yeah.
We have time to consider further on the fall.
I would love to learn more from, you said Jessica, did I get the name right?
Yeah.
Is she also the one who's going to be running or does run like the social media and stuff?
Yeah.
Awesome. I would love to just learn more about like do they have a content plan? Do they have a strategy that they're aiming to build? Do they want content from us?
Yeah.
What kinds of things do they like posting? Because that's another easy, we can take little bits of this and make it into social posts as well. If that's something that
You're good at that.
they want as part of that.
Yeah.
You're good at that.
I can do it.
I'm wondering if you should have a conversation with Jessica yourself.
I can send you her email.
That'd be great.
Yeah. if you guys want
Yeah.
that.
Awesome. Yeah, put us in touch and I can chat with her about
Yeah.
in general, newsletter stuff, social media stuff, if there's any other publicity pieces. I can also ask about the video, like if there are content places that
Yeah.
we could share videos at what length, at what.
She is gonna be new to the role.
Absolutely.
Leave that out there, so I'll get you in contact with her, but she is gonna be new to the role.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, if we can move on then to the next item, which is checking in on our work plan. And I think it's gonna turn out that we can actually continue this conversation. Yeah, I think the idea of this is to avoid situation where come November, December, we pull the work plan out of the back of the folder and say, well, how do we do? So it's just, but the question I was just gonna raise is, any thoughts you're having as you look at any of these items and any clarifications that need to be made? We haven't laid these out with a timeline. Although some of them are certainly kind of tied to other things, cities, processes, and
Some of them have target dates on them.
some of them do have target dates. Yeah. But well, many of them do, don't they? So,
A lot of things are not.
So with content incorporating code changes, we don't have any new code changes or updates. As I recall, when we talked about that, it was if we're reassessing the like pre-list or any other things, once that is finalized, then we'll go through and look at all the web content and make sure it's up to date. Correct?
yeah, we certainly took a run at this, didn't we, the last year, terms of work that other members are doing. But I'm not sure how much of that got translated into the specific changes to the city's website. It would probably be good for Victoria, Elizabeth, and Doug, at least, to be thinking about any key issues, any key changes that would really make a difference at this point in terms of the way the website is, what the website might need. But some of those had to do with navigation issues and the way things are tied together. Your question has to do more with updating content when it's appropriate to update content.
Yeah, I mean, that's what this is, web content and code changes is what's called out here, so.
Any other items you want to mention? One,
This one is the whole conversation we just had.
yeah. Yeah, and it sounds like where we get, and I'm not, I don't think we're suggesting any changes to this word plan. It's just kind of clarifying it, getting clear in our minds, because words that are there might not themselves capture everything we have in mind or want to do. Sounded like what we did there was to develop at least in terms of the newsletters and printed materials like that, to develop a good list of topics and an understanding of what the publication requirements were for several of those organizations or outlets. And then be thinking about which articles you like to write. That one about the Bird Street.
I would like to read it, because I think I have a couple of birch trees that might be afflicted.
Yeah.
The things you're talking about.
Yeah, I know there were a couple of trees that I was following. Yeah, I don't know. That surprises me.
I've got all this.
But they seem to
We have
drive.
lost several different spurs here. Our property, our neighbor's property in the last 10 years.
We lost someone with that.
There's another one, I think it's dying.
Let's see, Post Arbor Day event, check.
Getting in touch with other folks, so if we are able to get a table at farmer's market, is that something that we want to see if Climate Action Committee wants to join us for, or if Stewardship Foundation or anybody else wants to hang out with us?
Sure.
Whoever wants to.
Joint effort. Great. You could probably do an interpretive dance together.
I do find myself thinking, as we've all been in various degrees in contact with our neighbors who have been raising concerns about the numbers of trees that are going to be removed along Bothell Way, Lake City Way. I don't know if I'm not following closely enough to what's going on in the city, but I feel like I'm not aware up to date on what Sound Transit's current plans are for that project and what other things might be.
So you're going, Kirka.
Well, I mean, the update is there's no update that they haven't reached 100% design yet.
Right.
So in terms of numbers there, I don't think there's no, maybe Mark might have more information, but from what I know, there isn't really any update.
I don't know. Is there anything we should know there, Mark, that you'd like to call in on the phone or just like? Yeah, I guess too, I was wondering if there would be any interest on our part in asking some of those people to come and talk to us. I think the group is core. That's referred to the core group. I think that we're talking about
Yes.
people that's working on
Jeff
that.
Snet.
Who?
Jeff Snet.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Mhm. Would there be any interest in amongst us of having somebody from that group come and talk to us for 15 or 20 minutes? Approaching 100% design. Oh, yeah, sure.
So as a side effect of the power outage, the city does a backup generator. The backup generator malfunctioned. And I mean, it would be one thing if you just didn't turn on at all, but apparently it overcharged and it put 170 volts through appliances that could only handle 120. And so that made things worse.
Fun.
Well, so the question I raised was, would there be interest in our part on inviting some of the core group to talk to us? And the answer doesn't need to be yes necessarily.
I attended one of their meetings a couple weeks ago, and I think they're interested in engaging with others. So we could make things aware of yes, make the public aware of where things are at.
It'd be interesting to hear from them.
I'm on board.
I'm on board.
So it was that box towards the bottom of page 1 that got me thinking about that, to stay in communication with advocacy and stakeholder groups. I think they're a stakeholder in our board. That would be good to check in. So if there are no objections, I can try to reach out to Jeff, see how that might handle, how that might work. Any other things people would like to talk about, or just I'm trying to clarify a few things?
There are other outreach ideas besides tabling and article writing.
And social media, maybe.
And social media.
Well,
I just want to exhaust.
I'm embarrassed that I haven't got the next updated illustrated tree walk done yet. I got all the photos.
Oh, yeah.
I walked in and edited the text. I just not been getting integrated all this.
We had a couple of setbacks.
Well, but that should have given me opportunity to, I'm doing something. But one of the other ideas that I had raised previously was something that could be done perhaps with the Stewardship Foundation, perhaps with parks, is to develop short presentations about the ecology and natural history of our city parks, and have posts at park entrances with QR codes where people could, just have a little sign saying, learn more about Lakers or Grace Hole or 5 Acre Woods, and download, something to their phone that would have some text, some photos, maybe, and you can include something about the history, about the ecology, about the natural history, about whatever, we would want to do, but I think that's a way to really people might be getting each other.
I think that's something people would like our parks. There's a lot of people who appreciate it.
If I can throw,
Please, yeah.
we're doing a project for Grace Cole. Jeff Jensen is spearheading it, where he's producing small plaques, perhaps this size, to identify plants, trees, etc. We should work with you guys on the trees, that would be good. But we're gonna have QR codes on there. For the plants, we decided we're just gonna link to the Wikipedia page, but Jeff has the ability to do that for roughly $5 plaque this size, and we have the funds to give it in. I'm sure if you guys had some ideas, I mean, we'd have to take it to our board, but I'm pretty sure everybody would be love to do that.
Maybe that would be a kind of a pilot park to try that.
And we, in particular, we got a large donation for Grace Cole to be spent at Grace Cole's for coming up with ways to do it. And then we would then bring that to the other parks in the city, 5 Acre Woods.
It's always been impressed with the water that comes out of the hillside. And if you look on a map, there's kind of a line of stream origins that follows along the contours of the cliffs and on into the city. So these all these little springs along there. It's definitely a geographical or geological feature.
Well, all of the hills in Lake Forest Park are just glaciers.
Yeah.
But when those glaciers were advancing, receding, there would be little lakes that would be formed, and that really fine glacial sediment would form at the bottom of those lakes. That forms those clay layers that prevent water from penetrating down through. The rest of the soil here is basically sand, right? Because that's what most of the glacial was. So on a lot of these hillsides, where those clay layers are exposed, water percolates down through the sediments above them, hits those clay layers, and pours out in springs. So that's where a lot of this geology lies.
Yeah, a certain amount of them, I think, I'm surface waters, but
Oh, yeah.
higher elevations above it. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, I think that'd be good. Are you saying you're gonna pursue that and,
Well,
get your head around it more?
the reason I'm sort of being hesitant is I haven't been doing a very good job of doing the tree walks done, which I should have had all of them redone by now when we got to. But
It sounds like for the park info QR codes, though, y'all are already on it, and you can let us know if there are places that we can
We're
support it,
doing,
partner on.
we're doing it for
Yeah.
plants, but this, I'm reasonably sure, and careful not to commit, but if we could find funds to do it, and Jeff has the ability to make these, they're pretty useful, so, and then we could work with Corey, of course, about where to do it in the park.
and I could see one on that boardwalk that goes out to that little pond.
There's plenty of space on the boardwalk. And another project we're trying to get underway, started. Babble too long, but we are working to do a newer, larger kiosk at the grade school. And that's a bigger project. So that could be a nice place to put things.
Good, thank you.
No, we can't.
Well, once you know, if we can do trees, what are the next steps, right? We would go and pick trees that would need a plaque and be identified.
Yeah, I mean, for the trees that Grace Cole, it's not too hard to identify most of them. Yeah, for the trees, I can get you guys involved in what we're just now starting, so we're gonna build a list of plants, build a list of trees, and then certainly we welcome it to the tree board. And then where to do it, where to place them on the trees, that's another question, where it's useful. We are gonna do the QR code idea. I could bring an example of the next tree board meeting. Prototype, just made it too. We could easily link, if there was another place where you wanted to have information, we could have a different QR code.
At this point, we're not thinking in terms of creating any original content, like just QR codes.
The one original content is, the common name of the tree, the botanical name of the tree, 2 sentences. I've been thinking of it for plants, for trees. Maybe 2 sentences of what it is, then off on the side, a QR code, which we thought Wikipedia was the least likely to change website. We debated others, Washington Native Land, address, just other Wikipedia seem like it's. Yeah, well.
Oh, that sounds very good.
Yeah.
Who should I contact Dick or to Elizabeth? What do you want me to do?
Well, the contact me, I
Yeah.
provide some feedback. It sounds like the material you're providing is pretty minimal, because you gotta have it on small.
Yeah, it's like the sun, I mean, plaque would be like a little bigger than that.
How visible will
Um,
it be, I guess.
it's brown with white lettering, it's pretty good contrast. And then we could use help on workplace. So there's some existing signs, but they're small, metal, people not motor or steel. I'll contact you. Get you.
Thank you. I think that's helpful. That's all I got. I guess, any of these other items on our work plan that we want to kind of refresh or keep up to date on? There was one other one that occurred to me, just because I was thinking about this, was, well, first of all, I guess all of the stuff we're talking about on outreach really comes under that second box, doesn't it? Develop content to improve public outreach, it's actually more than developing content. Except for
Do it.
the specific, several
Execute it.
specific ones are called out. But, we talk about, that third box that under the post-annual Arbor Day activities such as tree planting, keep in mind possible sound. That was to capture the idea of actually planting trees, which actually is, number 2 in our goals, tree planting and maintenance events. And I'm just waiting, where we stand now, we seem to be waiting to see what's going on with South Transit. And then try to be of assistance in the replanting process. That happens after that. That might be where our discussions.
And on that note, I believe South Transit has officially said that they'll contract with King Conservation District.
That's right.
I think the assumption was they were going to, but I believe they've officially said they were planning to now. So that means, the King Conservation District activities, just sort of like figure out, okay, here's some city-owned parcels, or here's some tree efficient areas, here's some private houses that's interested.
I guess my point too in thinking about that was it seems like it's a ways down the road. So I'm wondering if there was, in the interim period, if there's any other tree planting activity that we want to entertain or
Under our,
just thought to.
under our work program, you flip it over, that topic is a header, tree planting and maintenance events. And the McClure Creek fence is listed under there.
Yeah, that is the wrap up, the replacement that's already done, right?
Yeah, it is done. The thought was, what's the status now of the Magnolia Creek project? And is there any role the tree board should think about in terms of continuing the maintenance on it?
Julie and John have been sort of keeping an eye on it. As much as anybody has.
Yeah, I've gone out with Julia twice just to repair some of the fencing, and also there were some trees that didn't make it.
I walked through there, a month or two ago. So there were a lot of things you were doing well
A
on.
lot of things have to,
What kind of maintenance role can we as a tree board play? I guess that's the question. Are we supposed to go out there physically and keep it up to date?
Well, I think what Julia had in mind was trying to get some funding to get another round of, weed done to help prevent, weeds from overpowering the young plants that need to plant. That would not be something that would be direct tree board action.
Are you in touch with Julia about that?
I have talked with her about it, but, at this point, she doesn't want it to be her responsibility.
Right.
I'm just wondering what we can do because it's on our work list,
Yeah.
so if there's no action we can take to maintain it, then we should remove it from our work.
There are a couple items like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. I mean, there are things we could do. We could find out what the grant process was. It was a grant from King Conservation District, perhaps.
Yeah.
That funded that original work. The way it works is cities have a fund that builds up within the King Conservation District and you can draw on that. We all pay at least $10 a year. King Conservation District, so our city builds up a fund that we can draw on the project. One thing we could do is try to research that and find out what the status is and, Stacy, maybe you'd like to.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that.
Might involve a discussion with Julia. Yeah.
Last intent,
That,
Bet.
Yeah.
we have our email.
yes.
But then, you contact the conservation district too, and Just tell me, Lake Forest Park.
For sure.
I think that would be good. I don't know, just, we touched briefly on schools as a location for trees in our previous part of this conversation. Is there anything more to be said there in terms of wanting to try to pursue that, or? Maybe not right now.
I think that's a good idea for next year's art. Try to, do it in collaboration with the school, maybe one of the classes.
Pretty much guarantee that contacting a school right now, they will not want to talk to you about anything besides the end of school.
No, yeah, now.
But
I didn't even answer that public.
something like October is generally when they have a bit of a kind of brain space to start thinking about some things that are beginning of year or end of year.
It would be nice if we could do some annual treatment, more than just something for our day. I know that, Steve Hahn organized that tree planting up around the reservoir at the southwest and southeast corners. They planted 3 trees. Peronias is the southwest corner are doing fine. The 3 trees that were planted on the southeast corner, 2 of them died. One of them just got mowed down, by someone coming in and mowing it. It was so small. And we went restaked up the other one so that it would be protected, but it might be nice just to go replant those that have the symmetry of the trees in each of those corners. Probably other places we can find.
Is that city property?
Yes, it's street right away.
It is street right away. It's the SB reservoir there. Yeah. It's adjacent to it. I think I'm pretty sure it's street right away, city right away.
So we'd have to work with these fine folks to figure out where are we allowed to put trees.
Yeah, well, so trees were already approved and planted at this spot, and 2 of the 3 died. So I was just thinking if we could even just get those replaced.
And I think that would be good. Hey, we do that in the fall.
Yeah.
But
We still don't have clarity about what funds we have available to use for buying trees. That there is supposed to be a fund in the city for us for that purpose, but it has sort of gotten merged with somehow the big plan for the transit money, and I don't know what we have. We haven't spent any money on that trees.
so we would want to purchase 2 trees.
Yeah.
But probably not bigger than saplings.
Yeah, they would want to be things that would be 5 or 6 feet tall. I would plan up for the big. That's
What's the estimate for that? $100?
$100 a piece probably, and then we want to have some stakes and things to.
Could we ask you to research that, Elizabeth, for us? This is looking ahead into the fall, if we wanted to do a project, tree planting project on city property.
Are there other tree celebration days, like tree day? Drew? So I don't know about.
Other tree themed holidays.
Yeah.
If that is something, if we do end up doing the planting, and it is something that we want to invite the public to or engage volunteers in, trying to align it, if we do like a table of picnic in the park and have a tree planting a week or 2 later, would be convenient for recruiting, if we want to engage the public. So, something to keep in mind, that's really good.
Early September.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think right September, October is.
You got a water plan. People don't want it.
7th of September, though, if we say, we can have materials there, if it's late September, in 2 weeks and, 3 weeks, come join us for a tree planting.
Get names and contact information.
Yeah.
Oh,
No, I helped plant those trees.
oh, did you? I was saying, I think that was not done as a hard community event. It was just people got off, dug holes and planted the trees.
Hard dirt, but it's dug out.
September 7th is picnic in the park.
September 7th. Yeah.
Planted.
That's what, yeah, that's what thought maybe we could, publicize it at that event, see if there were people interested in.
On this document, what's the PW assistance stand for?
Public Works.
Public Works, okay.
Is there anything else folks want to discuss about the work plan? I think it's been helpful in turning a little bit of fresh soil there. I think we're about ready to wind down, the meeting if they're done.
We have a couple of things in the last section, so like,
Okay,
making recommendations to council on exceptional tree sizes, we said June, because really, we have some other things to get through, and then maybe we can reassess and come back to this once Drew is settled in, and we've got past Arbor Day stuff. So
which item is that again, Victor? What,
assess results of tree inventory study and make recommendations to council on exceptional tree sizes.
Yeah.
We've talked about tree size a few times. Same with, I think it's in here somewhere. Reviewing the tree list,
Right.
as well.
Right.
So those two are ones that we started talking about early in the year.
Doug is
Determined there
really
was
interested.
other priorities, and we should revisit. So I guess that's really a question for you, Drew, is, are those conversations that you're ready to have, when we can have a conversation at an upcoming meeting about, like, what's the format of the tree list? Is it structured in the way that is most helpful and useful? Are there changes to it that we want to to recommend, and talking about the tree size requirements? Look at the tree list first. Great. So do we want to put that on for a topic at our next meeting, potentially?
Sure, Doug would like to.
Yeah, Doug has some really good ideas about that.
Yeah.
He's been thinking about more than I have a little bit. Although my goal is to get rid of that tree list.
That's thought. That counts.
I would just point out, the first Wednesday of next month is July 3rd. Does anyone foresee that being a scheduling issue?
I will be out of town and may or may not be able to join on Zoom.
So depending on whether
It's not good.
we get more people approved, the tree board may not even have quorum for July. So one option would be to hope for the best, another option would be to preventatively reschedule it for a special meeting for a later Wednesday in July.
The probably plan B would be better.
Maybe the 10th. And if two people have already said they're probably not here, then we should plan that there would be a quorum. Not to mention, I'm sure staff might like to have their Wednesday night before Independence Day for their own personal plans.
Yeah, that, we want to have a motion to set another date. Does the 10th sound good, just pushing it back 1 week?
That'd be great.
So we should probably just double check that none of the other, like planning commission, et cetera, have anything scheduled. I could pop up with the city calendar.
City calendar is open, actually.
Marker, would you be back if we moved it to the 10th? He says he's out.
Oh,
But
Yeah, the city calendar is open for July 10th. There's no meeting then.
so it sounds like you might not be able to make that mark, but,
he is around the 10th. He could do the 3rd.
Drew, are you gonna be in town on the 10th of July?
sounds like it's.
I hope we, postpone the July meeting to the 10th.
Second.
All in favor?
I
Okay,
appreciate not having to log on from 10 to midnight for these Coast.
Oh, if we are being picky about things, this is my job in this group. It's a special meeting, which means that officially you can only do topics that are on the agenda. You can't modify the agenda. And so just make sure that you have the agenda set to however many days in advance, because that's basically what you'll be able to talk about.
Great.
system for education.
So we should think about the agenda a little more in advance than we do at home.
Well, let's turn to that right now, as I think our discussion, unless anybody else has any other items that they'd like to raise on that from the work plan.
I'll just point to Drew's other comments. So, starting with the tree list and then, looking at the list with specifically through the lens of climate change and emerging tested densities and issues. So we have mostly talked about it through the lens of like usability of citizens working through the process, but adding in that lens of, are these the right things to be recommending?
So it sounds like one item on our agenda is going to be that tree list, that, for that July meeting. And so I suppose, I think it would be good, Drew, if you were to come with, some ideas in mind or some thoughts in terms of, like, I don't know where you get the reliable information today about the impact of climate change on Northwest Forest. But, some of that perspective, I guess we're going to need to start thinking more than just theoretically about it. Let's talk about the agenda for next meeting, and I guess, well, first of all, the agenda for next meeting. We got,
List of topics for news articles.
So there's a number of communication things that we said we're going to get more info on.
List of topics for the news articles we want to publish and outreach. I will come to the meeting with a assessment of what kind of grant we can get to continue the McClure. Thank you. McClure Creek.
okay, so let's have this separate item, the Mackler Creek.
In communications stuff, hopefully we'll have an answer on it. We'll have a market stall, and then for picnic in the park, who is figuring out tabling there? Is that one that we're trying to tag on to a city table on as well?
Mhm.
Who do we need to talk to the city and tell them that?
That would be Corey, but I can let Corey know. That's something that.
What if
So,
you can confirm if we can join them for,
picnic
Elizabeth's gonna tell us how much money we have.
Okay, we're jumping into, to-dos and mixing up to-dos with agenda. So for agenda items, just
We'll bring back all of
okay,
the.
communication planning.
Yeah.
Communications planning.
Right.
And that's important. And we've got, Mackler Creek update, maintenance update. Were there other particular agenda items? Or Mark, is there anything else you see that we gotta, or Drew, that we ought to be checking that you hear?
Yeah, the tree list.
So that's it for now, and when maybe the stuff gets back. Because the communications plan has actually got 4 or 5 things in. Okay,
Tree
let's,
canopy, I would like to talk about tree canopy equity next week, if there's next month, guys.
okay,
In relation to tree planting for the locations.
this may not be the way they cut out the official agenda, but communications planning, we got, Mackler Creek maintenance, we got, tree canopy.
And then the
Equity.
tree list.
And tree list. Thank you. Tree lists. Just to recap those two dudes again then before we end, just because there's a little different list than this. What I noted for myself was that I'm going to call Doug. Availability. Folks in.
For the, guards tour on the 15th. And you can do
That's
the
right, that's right.
1 to 3.
That would be the table here. Picture Park, Council, right?
Yep.
That's right, that's right.
It's lower level of the town center.
And I signed up for 11 to 1 and, signed up.
Drew's doing 9 to
Drew's
11.
doing 9 to 11, and then if, Dick can join us or anybody else who turns out to be available, come by and, I suppose we're gonna need some of our brochures. For that event,
Yeah, I can get those ready.
but, do you all need to come by and help pick those out, or do you want to I think there's one on the tree board itself, there's one on managing forests. At least those two, I think, would be good, and there might be some other ones.
Yeah, I could give those to Drew since she'll be there at the,
She's had access to the box and stuff, so she can figure
Yeah.
out what's appropriate.
and she's gonna be the first one from 9 to 11.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yeah, perfect.
So I can have those to her.
Let's see, gonna get a market contact to Victoria, and I'm gonna go check and have a call, talk to Jeff Sned. What I wrote down for my to-dos, were there other to-dos that you all know that, any other items we need to talk about? Well, I'm sure this has not been as interesting a meeting for Drew and Mark as it has been for us.
Not
I'm
quite as
sorry about that.
interesting.
You got a lot of other work done. Well, thank you all. I think, you're adjourned.
Thank you, Mark, for taking it.
Yeah.
Good job.
It's, you would, make it look easy.
Well, you know, what you did has got us done.
Well, that's,